On the 28th of June 1914, the hands of Gavrilo Princip pulled the trigger that led to the death of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, leading to the emergence of the First Great War. But who was Franz Ferdinand? And why and how did the death of one man propel the emergence of the First Great War? This is Past and Places. First of all, let us take a look at who exactly Franz Ferdinand was. Born in 1863 and the nephew of Emperor Franz Joseph, he was the crown prince to the throne of Austria-Hungary, after the tragic death of his uncle's only son, Crown Prince Rudolf, and his father. He became heir presumptive to the Austro-Hungarian throne in 1896. He was known for his independent and free spirit, as he often clashed with the rigid protocols of the imperial court at that time. His marriage to Sophie Chotek, a woman who had a lower social standing, isolated him even more from the ruling class. Ferdinand was a man who exhibited a keen interest in the affairs of the empire, despite his personal challenges, becoming a major proponent in federalizing the dual monarchy into the tripartite system, thus involving the Slavic populations into a third crown. This vision, though noble, was met with resistance from both Hungarian and Slavic elites. On June 28, 1914, Franz Ferdinand, accompanied by his wife, paid a visit to the Austro-Hungarian province of Bosnia and Herzegovina. He was there as Inspector General of the Imperial Army. During this period, politics in the Balkan was very chaotic, and the neighboring kingdom of Serbia was sought after by Bosnia. Besides this, the date that was chosen for this imperial visit and Habsburg show of force was June 28, which was deemed as a black date in Serbian history. It was the anniversary of the victory of the Turks over Serbia at the Battle of Kosovo in 1389, which fanned the flames of dissent and rebellion amongst Serbian nationalists even further. The royal couple were traveling in an open-topped car through Sarajevo, unaware of several assassins waiting along the route of their stops. Shortly after 10 a.m., amid the cheering crowds lining the wide avenue called Apple Quay, one of the attackers, Nedjeljko Kabranovic, threw a grenade at the royal couple's car. The bomb bounced off the back of the vehicle and exploded behind them, injuring members of the entourage who were in the next car and peppering bystanders with shrapnel. After completing the planned reception at City Hall, the royal couple decided to change their schedule and visit the hospital in order to check on one of the officers who was injured in the morning attack. Confusion among the drivers in the motorcade followed, with the drivers starting off in the wrong direction, down the very avenue where the conspirators were still present. When the royal motorcade entered a side street and stopped to turn around, a 19-year-old compatriot of Kabranovic, named Gavrilo Princip, decided to seize the opportunity. Approaching the royal couple's open car, Gavrilo Princip shot both Franz Ferdinand and Sophie with a Browning pistol. The driver of the couple's car then sped off for medical help. However, Sophie died en route, with Franz Ferdinand dying shortly after. Now that we understand a little about the life and death of the Archduke, the question that faces is, how did this incident ignite the First World War? Well, to understand this, we need to go back in time to understand the events that occurred in Europe before the June 28 assassination. A lot of events were occurring in Europe before the year 1914. These events laid the foundation and set up the atmosphere that later led to the outbreak of World War I. Prior to the year 1914, Europe was engulfed in nationalist movements. The Balkan Peninsula, in particular, often referred to as the powder keg of Europe, was the home to a diverse set of ethnic groups with deep historical and cultural roots. The decline and fall of the Ottoman Empire, which had long dominated the region, had created a power vacuum that these groups were eager to fill. These groups believed that each nation should have its own sovereign state, and it was these nationalist ideas that became the driving force behind their ambitions, leading to the Balkan Wars of 1912 to 1913. In the First Balkan War, Serbia, Greece, Montenegro, and Bulgaria united to drive the Ottoman Empire out of Europe. This wasn't a war for territory alone, but a war for their national identity. For Serbia, in particular, the war was an opportunity to expand its borders and fulfill the nationalist dream of a greater Serbia, uniting all Serbs under one flag. The success of the Balkan League in defeating the Ottomans sparked nationalist pride across the region, but it also sowed the seeds of future conflict. Serbia emerged from the First Balkan War significantly strengthened, having nearly doubled its territory. This power strengthened Serbian nationalists, who then sought to unite all South Slavs, including those under Austro-Hungarian rule. This dream of a greater Serbia directly threatened the stability of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, which was home to a significant South Slavic population. The tension between Serbian nationalism and Austro-Hungarian imperialism would soon become one of the central issues leading to World War I. Alarmed by the rise of Serbian nationalism, Austria-Hungary became more aggressive in its foreign policy, leading to a decay in its relations with Russia, which saw itself as the protector of Slavic peoples. You can see the connection between Russia and Serbia now. The growing rift between Austria-Hungary and Russia was evident in the relations between the Austro-Hungarians and its ally, Germany, particularly as Germany often sided with Greece and Romania over Austria-Hungary's pro-Bulgarian sympathies. The nationalist movements in the Balkans, combined with the strategic calculations of the great powers, created a highly combustible environment. By 1913, the Balkan Wars had left Europe more divided than ever. Nationalism both in the Balkans and among the great powers was driving a wedge between nations. Serbia's determination to continue its expansion, coupled with Russia's support, alarmed Austria-Hungary, which saw its influence in the region slipping away, creating further tensions and rivalries. If you're enjoying this video, please give us a thumbs up. Away from the Balkan region, other events were unfolding simultaneously. From the late 19th and early 20th centuries, Europe began experiencing the Industrial Revolution. This revolution brought about the establishment of factories and industries. As a result of this, European countries sought to gain resources for these industries and markets for products. Thus, European powers engaged in an unprecedented scramble for territory known as New Imperialism. This rush to acquire colonies and spheres of influence in Africa, Asia, and the Pacific greatly affected the geopolitical landscape and played a major role in the outbreak of the First World War. This fierce competition for these resources, particularly among Britain, France, and Germany, fueled tensions and economic nationalism. For example, the scramble for Africa and the partitioning of Africa, which divided the African continent into European-controlled territories, setting the stage for future conflicts. The acquisition of colonies by the European powers was closely tied to ideas of national pride and power. Colonies symbolized the greatness of a nation and were viewed as physical proof of a country's global influence and power. This intense competition for status also worsened existing rivalries between these countries and fostered an atmosphere of suspicion and distrust. As the British and French expansionism continued, tensions rose between opposing empires, including Germany and Austria-Hungary, leading to the creation of the Allied powers, Britain and France, and Central powers, Germany and Austria-Hungary, during World War I. At this point, it is also important to note that European powers were deeply invested in militarism. This was the belief that a nation's strength was best demonstrated through its military might. This mentality fostered a culture where military preparedness was seen as essential for maintaining power and prestige on the global stage. As European nations became more militaristic, they began building up their armies and navies in an arms race. This was particularly evident between the major powers of Europe: Germany, Great Britain, France, Russia, and Austria-Hungary. One of the most significant examples of this was the arms race, that is, the naval competition between Great Britain and Germany. Britain, an island nation, had long relied on its powerful navy to protect its empire and trade routes. When Germany began expanding its own navy under Kaiser Wilhelm II, Britain felt its supremacy threatened. The German Empire, aspiring to assert and expand its power and influence to challenge that of Great Britain, launched a massive shipbuilding program in the 1890s, focusing on constructing battleships known as dreadnoughts. These heavily armed and armored ships symbolized naval dominance. In response, Britain increased its own dreadnought production, determined to outbuild Germany. This back-and-forth construction of battleships created an atmosphere of suspicion and hostility, contributing significantly to the tensions between the two nations. On the mainland, the arms race led to the buildup of massive armies. Germany maintained a large, well-trained army and instituted conscription to ensure a steady supply of soldiers. France, on the other hand, still pained from their defeat in the Franco-Prussian War, 1870-71, was determined to match Germany's military strength. France also expanded its army, particularly by extending the length of compulsory military service. Russia, feeling the pressure of its vast borders and potential threats from both Germany and Austria-Hungary, also embarked on a massive rearmament program. Austria-Hungary, meanwhile, sought to strengthen its military in response to the growing threats from both the Balkans and the other great powers. Things indeed started to get interesting. Meanwhile, you can drop your thoughts about this development in the comments section. It is important to note that militarism in Europe didn't operate in isolation, as it was closely tied to an alliance system that divided Europe into two opposing blocs. Germany, Austria-Hungary, and Italy had formed the Triple Alliance, while France, Russia, and Britain formed the Triple Entente. As these alliances was strengthened, the arms race took on an even more dangerous turn, with each country feeling the need to increase its military capabilities in order to support its allies and keep rivals at bay. More security issues were created. As one nation built up its military, others felt threatened and responded by also increasing their own forces, leading to an increase of armaments. The arms race led to a situation where Europe was a tinderbox, ready to ignite at the slightest spark. These secret alliance systems played a major role in the events that led to World War I by creating a network of commitments and obligations that turned a localized conflict into a full-scale global war. To understand how this happened, let's break down the key elements of the alliance system. The first of these secret alliances was the Triple Alliance of 1882. It was made up of Germany, Austria, Hungary, and Italy. They formed this alliance primarily as a defensive pact against France and Russia. The terms of this alliance required each member to come to the aid of the others if they were attacked by a foreign power. The second was the Franco-Russian Alliance of 1894. This was a defensive alliance in response to the Triple Alliance. This agreement meant that if either country was attacked by Germany or Austria-Hungary, the other would come to its defense. The third was the Entente Cordiale of 1904 and the Triple Entente in 1907. Britain, feeling increasingly isolated as an island nation and concerned about Germany's growing power, sought to improve relations with France and Russia. The Entente Cordiale between Britain and France was followed by the Triple Entente, which included Russia. While not a formal military alliance, it created a loose coalition against the Triple Alliance. The secret nature of these alliances meant that countries often had a limited understanding of their opponents' intentions and commitments. This lack of transparency created an environment of mistrust and suspicion. Moreover, the alliances were designed with the expectation that they would deter aggression, but in reality, they had the opposite effect. With the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, Austria-Hungary declared war on Serbia in July 1914, and with this, the alliance system kicked into action. Austro-Hungarians were confident in their ability to act against Serbia because of its alliance with Germany. Germany, under the terms of the Triple Alliance, was bound to support Austria-Hungary if it was attacked. Serbia, a Slavic nation, had close cultural and political ties with Russia. When Austria-Hungary declared war on Serbia, Russia felt compelled to support Serbia, partly because of its alliance with France and also because of pan-Slavic sentiments. Russia's mobilization in support of Serbia was perceived as a direct threat by Germany. Bound by its alliance with Austria-Hungary, Germany declared war on Russia. With Russia now at war, France was drawn into the conflict due to its alliance with Russia. Germany, anticipating a two-front war, declared war on France. Germany's invasion of Belgium, as part of its strategy to quickly defeat France, violated Belgium's neutrality, which Britain was obliged to defend due to the Treaty of London in 1839. This brought Britain into the war against Germany, and by 1914, World War I was underway. Indeed, what could have remained a local conflict between Austria-Hungary and Serbia was quickly escalated due to these secret alliances. The interlocking commitments meant that once one nation was drawn into the conflict, others were obligated to follow. So tell us, do you think it was the death of the Archduke that sparked the war, or was it the hand that pulled the trigger? If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, share, and also subscribe to our YouTube channel for more engaging contents.